In the last video of mine, which is also the first video that I did, received a massive amount of views and likes, thank you very much. I briefly talked about the lost generation of Japan. This is the generation of young people that just got to the working age when the bubble burst happened during the 1990s. So of course, they couldn't find jobs, they couldn't afford housing, they couldn't afford anything at the time. And even to today, many of them are still struggling terribly, because they couldn't compete with someone who's much younger than them and willing to get paid in much less dollars. I found it reasonable to believe that this generation of young people in the West are becoming the Western version of Japan's lost generation of the 1990s in 2025, because they have so many terrifying similarities. They can't afford anything. They can't afford housing, they can't afford a pair of shoes without cutting their budgets from somewhere else. They can't afford to date, to marry, to have children. So of course, the birth rate drops, which is the single biggest time bomb for any economy. Also, they're constantly being called lazy and unwilling to work by mostly the baby boomers, while nobody is willing to hire them to give them work to do. So that is wonderful. The similarities are actually too many to list, but basically this current generation of young people in the West are the poorest generation living in the richest era and countries we have ever seen in human history, which is very bad for stabilities. I look happy because I know there's nothing I can do about it, so I give up. What can you do personally for such an unstable future ahead? The best preparation anyone, especially someone who is young from the Western world, can do, in my not so humble opinion, is to learn and to experience from the other side, the Eastern side of the world. This includes anything from taking a trip to China to learning Japanese from ground up or moving to an Eastern country all at once. I have two arguments for this claim. Number one is things are just so much more affordable over there, so much cheaper, and in many cases, much higher qualities. And number two is by learning their cultures, languages, histories, you can obtain what is called an information gap. Meaning, say, if you speak fluent Chinese or Japanese and able to read their newest news and policies before everybody else in the West can, before the market reacts, potentially you can utilize that information to profit from the market. This is only one of many ways to take advantage of the information gap. You can also start a copycat company in the States or in the West based on something you saw in China or Japan that doesn't yet exist in the West. Traditionally, in the last 100 to 200 years, people used to bring back ideas from the US to other countries. But in recent years, we've been seeing so many reverse examples as well. Now, if you are thinking about moving internationally, especially to one of the Eastern countries such as China or Japan, just keep in mind that you should learn the language as much as you can. That's number one before you go. Number two is to try to get a remote job that pays you in decent US dollars. If you can manage both of those two things, that should set you up for a very decent and a very comfortable life ahead of you for a while, because the USD is still the king. If you still need some additional help, I have an ebook, link in description, made with some lesser known Chinese wisdoms, but more importantly, my own personal international travel and living experiences. It's the best way to support this channel, but it's also really helpful for people who are interested in foreign cultures or considering to move to one of the Eastern countries. It's particularly helpful to people who are thinking about moving to China or Japan. Considering I'm Chinese and living in America and moving to Japan soon, that is how this ebook came to be. The next video will be focused on the crush of the Japanese housing market. Please stay tuned.